So once they have done this for tab 1, which is the vibes, they'll repeat the same thing for slabs. And then on this graphs, they are required to create graphs. So I teach them how to graph the data, looking at the flavors and by quarterly sales for each of the two companies, and then also by the unit sales. And that is their Excel exemplar. So the next thing they have to do is the actual now presentation. So in this recordings folder, they'll have the recordings for the screencasts for how to create graphs. So if they miss class, they'll be able to go in there and watch the screencast that I've created for them for each of the areas that were mentioned in the lesson, which would be, of course, your formulas, your conditional formatting, and your graphing. Next thing they'll do is they'll go into any of these recordings and they'll find that if they miss the class, they can go back and watch the entire class, and they'll be able to keep up that way so that they don't miss anything. The last thing I want to show you would be the exemplars. So notice that on the general screen, on the general tab, they actually have right here a link to a presentation which is considered an exemplar. Let's take a look at this and I'll show you what they actually get to see. So this, I'm not going to put this in presentation mode because I'm not going to play the video for you, but I'll just let you see basically what it's about. And this was a student that did his. He came in here, and the first thing I wanted them to do was culturally immerse themselves into these two areas to understand what's it like there. What's the weather like? What's the culture like? Do they eat ice cream? Because once they started to explore these two areas, they got a good understanding of what life is like there, what people like to do there, what's the weather like, and then they started to equate the weather to the actual temperatures. So they noticed that the temperatures had quite a bit to do with the sales of ice cream. So they could predict where they were going to have their best sales and then where sales would start to taper off. They were able to look comparatively to see what was going on with the flavors, which flavors were most popular in which location. So here you'll notice that this student did a presentation on Miami and what takes place in Miami. Of course, you know, Domino's, it's really big, right? So that was a learning point for the students also. Moving into Ontario, and what is there to see in Ontario? What is it like in Ontario? So they were able to not only gather information from their virtual field trips that they took in the various channels in the team, but they were actually able to go and research now some information that they wanted to present on each of these two locations. Here they did a comparative analysis of the two with the sales, the weather. These are basically answering the questions that were asked in that project document. You'll notice that he also gives you the statistics broken down in this final slide here, where we're looking at which was the most popular, which was the least popular in both of the locations. And then these actual documents here, these graphs, are created from the Excel work that they do, and then they're copied and pasted right here into their presentation. So after this, the last thing that they're required to do is their actual screencast. And the screencast could be done as a reflection, however they choose to do it, whether they do a reflection in a PowerPoint, whether they do it in even the same Screencast-O-Matic, or any other tool that they're comfortable with. They would be able to go ahead and do their presentation that way and turn it in as their summative assessment. So that is how this lesson went. I do hope that you enjoyed what you saw of it. And in fact, it will be good to see you again with some comments on how we can actually improve this lesson. So thank you very much.